Khamzat, Frank Warren, Chael Sonnen. Yesterday, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, red carpet, Tyson Fury versus Usyk, part 2, the rematch. And we're all there. Now, I get brought there by the good team that I work with at Bad Guy Inc. I'm right here in my studio in beautiful Westland, Oregon, but I got all the monitors are lit up, and this was a who's who. I mean, just imagine a red carpet with a guy who has been able to roll out better and nicer red carpets, rings, cages for that matter, than anybody ever. This thing was so beautiful, and I was so happy to be participating. I have wanted a foothold into boxing from day one. From absolute day one. When I was growing up as a kid, somebody said, "What's your favorite sport?" I would say wrestling. They said, "What's your second favorite sport?" And I would say boxing. I was a huge fan. I saw everything. With that said, I didn't have a pair of gloves. I'd never trained. So it's a little bit different, right? I think if you asked Ariel Helwani, what is your favorite sport? I think he would say MMA. And many people would push back and go, "What do you know about MMA? You've never done it before." I mean, right? Like, to be your favorite can be a favorite to observe, to be around, to witness, to study about. Which one do you think is the best? Just for example. And I think that that's a lot truer for people than the other way. Because I do hear people catching themselves or saying, "Well, I've never done that." I don't know about that. Like if you had a solid cotton blanket, or you had a knit blanket, or you had a quilt, I'm not sure that it would get in your way of saying what your favorite was. My favorite country in the world, even if you haven't been there, but you studied it, you've looked at it, you dream of it. Are you with me on this? Because I was part of all of this. I was part of this whole thing. I'm name dropping Frank Warren, and I'm name dropping Khamzat, but that's only because the sucker's 33-0. We're going to fight for a WBA title in February right there in Riyadh. Maybe old Chael could be part of it. Like, it was cool for me to get to be involved with this, but I would rather be on the ground. That's true. I would rather be right there, looking at the camera with these guys, as opposed to holding the camera and trying to juxtapose and who's using Zoom and who's using Skype and who's on StreamYard today, or one of the various ways that you learn to communicate in the post-COVID world. But we do a great job. And I get such great information. But, guys, when I'm talking with Khamzat, point one with Khamzat is he's going to be fighting for the WBA World Championship. Oh, by the way, he's going to split his time between Riyadh and LA. Now, as soon as he says LA, I know I get to show my intelligence and bring up the wild card, and of course, Freddie Roach. There is nobody that's ever trained in LA, sought out LA for a boxing world title, that doesn't go to wild card with Freddie Roach. Wrong. Are you guys aware of this? There's another gym out there. And when he said the name of it, I had never even heard it before, and I didn't want to begin questioning him, and I did want to question him because I was genuinely curious as a fan. I did not continue to question him because of the disrespect that it could cause. And he had it was like Wales Unlimited, Wales on the street, Wales. I just kind of remember the word Wales, and I wanted to go down that road so badly. Like, who else is there? What is the lineage? If you're getting ready to fight for world titles, and you have Riyadh behind you, and Riyadh is going to be the destination where the world title takes place. You're on a red carpet in Riyadh right now. That means Riyadh is behind you, and that means you can train anywhere you want, with whoever you want. And equipment-wise, you lose something, you forgot something, you dreamed about having something, you just didn't have it, they'll bring you that too. And he's choosing to go to LA to a gym I'm not familiar with right across town from the wild card. I just think that you guys might find that interesting. So while I'm visiting with him, and while I get Frank Warren on the phone, and Frank Warren's been promoting fights, guys, back when I was a little kid. Frank is much older than me. Eddie Hearn takes all the credit. Bob Arum has done a good job of taking credit, but some of that belonged on Don King. Oscar De La Hoya did a good job, but he actually ran a true business where he had capital and he would have an outlay where he could win and lose. Guys like Shane Mosley, guys like Bernard Hopkins. are promoters of events, but if you were to go and look at the very fine print, they own one share and they never paid for it. Oscar De La Hoya gave both of those guys one share of Golden Boy in exchange for them going out and doing promotional opportunities when that comes up. And some of it looks really fun, right? Some of it's putting the belt around somebody or standing between two guys at face-offs. But Frank Warren is one of the true promoters from the old school. He promoted a number of fights that I grew up on. He promoted a number of Mike Tyson fights. When we had the Four Horsemen, the real Four Horsemen, Leonard, Hagler, Duran, Hearns, when we had those guys, and that was what I really considered the golden age, and there was a Canadian boxer, a white guy named Donnie Lalonde, and he was trying to insert himself in that, and he finally even got in, but he ran into Sugar Ray first, and it didn't go very well for Donnie Lalonde. In fact, Donnie's the one bringing the belt. Sugar had to go take it off of him. But he just reinforced that era, that it was Hagler, Hearns, Duran, and Leonard. So it's Frank Warren. He's got his hand right in this thing. So I'm going to get to talk to him. We end up only catching up about Ring Magazine. Now, Ring Magazine and Black Belt Magazine. And if my buddies Justin and Carl, TJ, if they were here right now, hand on a stack of Bibles, I would beg them, when we get together every Friday, Saturday night, we're going to go out. I was whatever guy. I never came to the table with a suggestion. I love to go see movies, but even if it was a movie, I would never suggest what movie we saw. I was just happy to be there. I was the youngest of the group. I didn't have a car. They had to come get me. I'm out in the country. I was always just so grateful. And these were my guys. I just wanted to be with them. And the only time that I broke that rule of just go along to get along, it would come once a month and I would beg them to take me to a newsstand. And we had basically one in our area. It was at something called Fred Meyer. Now, Fred Meyer in our area is the way you guys know Target today, where you can get it all under one roof. In fact, Walmart might be a better example because of the electronics section. You can get it all under one roof. Well, that's what Fred Meyer was, and they would have a newsstand. And I would go over there, and they had it every time, and they'd only have two. And I was so young that I thought so many other people, just like me, have got to get their fix of Ring Magazine and Black Belt Magazine. That there's only two copies left. Every time I went, there was two of each. There was two of each. There was two of each. What I learned when I was older is they only ordered two because they never sold two because nobody on earth cared about these things except me. And when I went in there, I didn't have the $5 to buy them. But the thing I would do with Ring Magazine, it would have a technique section. And Ring Magazine was the most important magazine if you wanted to know who the best in the world was. That's a complaint I have always had for boxing. That we don't know who the best in the world is, but my bigger complaint is there's no way to find out. A straight line bracket, what they use is the Olympic Games. The reason, if you win an Olympic gold medal and you decide to get your pro card, you automatically go into the top 10, just so you understand that. It isn't just to show respect to the Olympic Games. It's the community of boxing knows there is no possible competitive architecture out there to let us know who is where. So if you do go through the Olympic Games, we will put you in the top 10, and I don't know of anybody that's ever bombed their way out of it. Some guys didn't get all the way to number one, but I don't know of anybody that got bounced and bounced and bounced again till they were just never in the top 10 that had an Olympic gold medal. Max Kellerman. I was a little boy. Max Kellerman was a very young boy himself. But he used to do pieces for like public access. Max somehow could get a camera and start talking boxing when he was a little boy. It's how he became such a prodigy. But Max Kellerman said, if you ever wonder who the world's best is, if you ever can't remember if these two guys fought or what would happen if these two guys did fight, you can always look in the back of Ring Magazine. Whoever gets the number one ranking in Ring Magazine, which cannot be bought and it cannot be corrupted, and there are no politics, and the term artificial intelligence did not even exist back then. This was Max Kellerman speaking. And in the world of boxing, it's Max and everybody else. I mean, like, Max has shown his sincerity. The mere fact that he was doing a show for free as a kid, found a way in the door, has never lied to anybody, has never got his pocket line to change something different than the truth or what he believes to be true. I mean, you can't get a better voice than Max. And I remember Max saying this when I was just a little kid. And he said, you want to know who the real world champion is? You go in the look of Ring Magazine, and they will, every publication, post a top 10 of every weight class. Do not worry about belts, because there's going to be guys that are ranked number 1 that don't have belts, who haven't even fought for belts. If you want to know who the best is, it's whoever Ring Magazine says is the best. I later got to a point in my sport. We had a very well-known website known as the Underground Forum, and we had another well-known site known as SureDog.com. And the Underground Forum is what every commission in all 50 states will go to when they're looking at a guy's record. What his record was or what he's done does not matter. What his record's done and what he's done is going to be what is stated on the Underground Forum, and a fighter's record, win and loss, how many matches he had or thinks he's had, the outcome, whether it was or wasn't, his official record is whatever SureDog says. And our community has never disputed that once those rules are explained to us. I have never seen a corruption at SureDog. I have never seen MMA.tv, the Underground Forum, get it wrong. And I have never heard anybody dispute the true best guys in the world, including number 1, are whoever Ring Magazine says are the best guys. That magazine has now sold. And the person that you want to have control of something that I talked about that big, it's the person that cares the most. People love Dana White. People also love to put out negative energy about Dana White. But his lovers and his detractors are all on the same page of one thing. He needs to be in charge. Why? Because he cares the most. There is no one out there that cares and has such a passion, and that's why we ultimately got to come to his mind and his decision. And we will do all sorts of things in the industry to influence and change his mind, but we know it needs to come from him. And that is where they are at with Ring Magazine. And if you are new to boxing, if you didn't hear Max Kellerman come out and make the case and tell you why, credit it to me. The magazine is sold. Credit it to me. If you tell this story 40 years from now, say, I heard Chael Sonnen, as an upstanding and honest member of our community who cares and has passion, he told me that if I ever wanted to count on a ranking that didn't have politics, it didn't have bureaucracy, it could not be bought off. It was going to be straight based on skills, wins, losses, abilities. He told me, Chael Sonnen said, go to the back of any copy of Ring Magazine, and whatever Ring says, whoever they say is the best, recognize as the best.